वही रहना पड़ेगा।
तो सिर्फ टूरिस्ट हो?
हरियाणा पुलिस एंटी टेररिस्ट स्क्वाड।
पिच्छू घास की सब्जी खाएंगे रात को, बड़ी फेमस है यहाँ।
बॉस क्या लगता है आपको, कौन हूँ मैं? क्यों मार रहे थे वो मुझे?
ऑपरेशन कंडम कर रहा है तो मार दे, खत्म कर।
Hello friends. This is an old episode that we recorded many months back with our friend, Dhruv Krishna Goyal, but failed to release because of various slacked off reasons. Please proceed in enjoying this, I can't understand this word, discussion about the then theatre release, Sandeep Our Pinky Faraar, by Dibakar Banerjee, starring Arjun Kapoor and Pariniti Chopra. Now out on Amazon Prime Video. Enjoy. Sedimentary.
All of my friends who watched Byomkesh Bakshi were sort of really surprised by the kind of filmmaking that was, applied to it. Because that wasn't something that you usually see a lot, right? And
I think there was a whole world creation there, which I think Byomkesh Bakshi is the one that I'm most foggy about, because I think I saw it way back when it released. The other films that he's made, I think for me one of the finest films to come out of Indian cinema in forever, I think is Love, Sex or Dhoka, just because I think that movie is so clever in repurposing like a B-grade film as a smart sort of take on voyeurism and everything and again, I think the big thing with Dibakar Banerjee for me, and I don't think it's one of those directors, I think, like Vikramaditya, who the more I've seen, the more I've realized after reading and watching their films that, these filmmakers are really, really good. And in the sense that they are making consistently great stuff. They are not, they sort of hone in their styles in a way which I think some filmmakers don't. Their styles aren't that recognizable. And I think they have this ability of telling Indian stories, but in a very sort of unique way. You can sense it being their film without sort of it being like a distracting sort of facade almost in front of the explanations of it. But yeah, again, I'm coming from much more of a place where I actually just saw Khosla Ka Ghosla, and then I've just gradually seen his work, and I've just been oh, okay, this is by Dibakar Banerjee, who's actually a fantastic filmmaker. And yeah, it's just sad that he doesn't make much stuff, which is not just his fault. I think it's more part of also finances and production, and we'll talk about that when we get to
the kind of influence he probably has is sort of very niche on a very small section of people. I was thinking the reason why Anurag Kashyap probably struck me more as an inspiration while I was developing a taste or something was probably because I got to see a lot of him. Right. By the time I saw, I was in sometime around 2013 when I had seen Ugly, Gangs of Wasseypur, That Girl in Yellow Boots, Gulal, Black Friday, and a couple of things that he had also made, Paanch, and a TV film called Last Train to Mars. So that's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
No smoking.
With Dibakar Banerjee, until that point was just those few films. Even now, he's just made, since Byomkesh Bakshi, he's made 2 short films and then 1 feature film. So it's not something, I really, really like him. But the thing is, since he's not his films don't come out at a consistent time period, there's this thing that people forget, somehow, and then you have to stay relevant, and at this point and day and age, it's very hard for a filmmaker to stay relevant and for people to remember, since a lot of the films are just getting dumped on OTT platforms like Netflix and all. And I was just saying, I spoke about AK versus AK, and then the factor about AK versus AK was you don't remember a lot about it. It hasn't stayed so much with you, people didn't talk about it for a month or two, or when it came out on DVDs, on TV, or on.
Yeah.
Since AK vs. AK came out directly on OTT, that was the
Yeah.
only shelf life it had. Obviously, people will discover about it later, but then it doesn't stay
Yeah.
much in pop culture for a long time.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, I get what you mean. I think it's very much the OTT sort of the pitfalls of the OTT platform, I guess, in that way. Just because, yeah, I didn't think about the whole shelf life thing of it, but yeah, you're right. Because AK vs. AK actually had more publicity pre its release. Why we know is like a bit absurd reasons why it had publicity, but yeah, like again, I think. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't understand why someone like Dibakar Banerjee is considered niche though. Like, I think that's apart from like a Love, Sex or Dhoka, I think which is fine. Like, it's pushing the boundaries of like representing sexuality and like deceitfulness and all that in an anthology format. Like, I think all of his other films are pretty marketable. Like, apart from his shorts, his short films are like okay. Like, I think he uses them to like convey something which he wouldn't in a feature film, or he couldn't. So I think that's a very interesting aspect to explore about him in any case. But I think, yeah, like I'm surprised how less he is known. I think outside the sort of film circle, and why I have lost all trust in him. I mean, it's probably because Byomkesh didn't do that well. Did it
made
do well?
Decent amount of money. I remember it was somewhere around 25-27 crores. It made on box office, which is still surprising considering the current times. I'm just. It feels like that's so much considering. Like I don't even think so. It'll make this much money at this time, even if it's like a normal theater going thing.
No, I think it might. It seems like it could get like the Son Chidiya treatment.
Yeah,
almost.
definitely.
Byomkesh at this point.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, which is, which I think is a sort of sad reality. And I mean, I'm very, how I'm generally less about the whole cinematic experience in any case, but like, but yeah, there is something that there is to be lost, I guess, in this sort of aspect. Where you're not going, where you like just see a vanishing of these sorts of films. It's just that blockbuster or like that extreme indie, which is barely seen by anyone. So like this middle range film, sort of the vanishing of this is problematic for me, especially because like I'm so interested in filmmakers who work within a mainstream and then sort of structure their way around it, which Anurag Kashyap has tried, Dibakar Banerjee's tried, Zoya Akhtar's tried. So like all like people who are like directors, and I mean especially because I think there's such a lack of new stories. Like a new story would be like a Christopher Nolan actually inventing like a time bending whatever story, right? And I think so we'll just jump to the discussion of Sandeep or Pinky here also. Just
what are
your
thoughts on it?
So I think just building off that point, just the fact that film is also essentially Bunty or Bubbly, or can be Bunty or Bubbly from like a YRF template. But it's sort of tweaked around in a way that only a filmmaker like Dibakar Banerjee will tweak it around. And I think, I'd like to know your thoughts more also, because we've now got a chance to talk about it. I'll jump in later.
No, that's all right. I was just thinking about it yesterday only, like post the film. To me, it felt like a very commercial sort of like a template that he used, and then he just twisted and turned and everything around the whole dynamics and the mechanics of the genre. It's in a way, if you look at it, it's like a coming of age sort of story, right? In its essence.
Yeah.
And he's just taken a few things and just inverted your expectations about how you will probably view this film, like sort of. I sort of had like, I don't know, this is not a spoiler, right? But it's about patriarchy, right? It's a social commentary.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's a very much
So since I had no idea about the plot, it didn't really come as a surprise. But then I liked how that film approached that whole subject. I was a little apprehensive in the beginning because I got a few things in the beginning that were happening, like that.
Opening shot.
Yeah, Sure. Yeah. Sort of like that. So I knew what I was getting into. I sort of liked the whole idea about it, but a little later on. Like I was a
Got
little
it.
apprehensive thinking that this subject was being tackled as an exclusive thing. Like exclusive in the
Got
sense
it.
I am getting a social commentary film. But then when I
Got it.
went ahead with the film, when I saw the whole narrative, I don't think so there was
Yeah.
another way to use that social issue, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
in this narrative, because this is probably the best way to do it actually.
Yeah.
And sort of considering he made that ghost stories segment, that
Yeah.
zombie sort of
Yeah.
short
Post-apocalyptic Night of the Living
post-apocalyptic.
Dead type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Considering how he used social issue and made it into a different narrative and used it as like a horror genre film,
Yeah.
that sort of fits in, his scheme of, mental state of doing films now, because he's just taking narratives and putting
Yeah.
like a so he's just like, okay, this.
Yeah, no, I think I was basically getting at, is that basically like how the sort of, I mean, I don't know how much it's prevalent with every audience member, but the whole belief that, the Ayushmann Khurrana formula is basically
Yeah.
like plateauing into like
Uh-huh.
one of the, like, we are done with it. Like, even though some of
Sort
them
of,
are
yeah.
like very well sort of maneuvered with, I mean, like Bala or like, I don't know, like other examples also, but just that sort of repetitiveness of narrative has become like tiresome now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, got it. No, I agree with you. I think it's a very interesting point actually, because there are some films which I like who tackle all this, like films. I think I'm talking less from a short film point of view, but I understand exactly what you mean. I think I think if a subject matter is complicated enough for India, I think that so my examples will basically be like the Anubhav Sinha films, which are tackling like the sort of really nitty gritties of like these small things. Then I think I mind the social drama point sort of less. But yeah, we need more films which are sort of integrating it within like a genre template really
Right.
well. I mean, this sort of Sandeep or Pinky Faraar is basically someone having a theme or something to say about, and then like literally building the plot or whatever around it. Like there's, to me, I think I guess for me the less of a complaint was that I didn't feel the patriarchy thing being told to me from the beginning, because I think I had read a little bit about it before watching it, so I guess I was prepared for it a little bit also. But I also I didn't think that it was also about like, because there's so much about like banks and money and like everything. Like,
Right.
there's so much in that movie which
Right.
is talking about so much that's going on in India. I mean, just offhand, I mean, I think I will let everyone like experience it for themselves, but like offhand comments, like you have to pay attention to each like side gag like that Jaideep Alawat's character makes
Yeah.
when something happens, or like when Raghuveer Yadav's character does when he is saying something to his wife, or like
Right.
or like just composition wise, like in the house when two women are sitting together,
Right.
but like the two men in an authority figure or authority position are sitting together. So like
Right,
very
right,
like
right.
minute stuff that that I think the other thing is the problem sometimes becomes is like if you're trying to put that social message above the drama, what happens is the drama kind of stops, right? So it's
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
in the narrative there, for me there was very little room for that to happen. Like it was just a very sort of organic flowing from plot point to plot point, and it made sense why these people were the way they were, if that makes sense.
But apart from that, like what general takeaways did you have from the film? We'll talk about a little spoilery things, probably like a little
Yeah.
down the episode, but like just your general thoughts about the film.
Yeah, I think I mean, again, this is like the first time I've been to the cinema in a while, so I think maybe I'm still not ready to accept that that's what affected my viewing of the film. But I thought yeah, I think I've the one film that I've kept on mentioning actually recently is Widows, because that film is like a very sort of similar thing in the sense that the heist film being used as a way to comment on like Chicago and like how Chicago's racial system and etc. is, which I think that I kept on coming back to it when I was thinking about Sandeep or Pinky Faraar, just in the sense that you have this very sort of formulaic plot, but there's a director who's using everything, and I mean everything. Like Bollywood is used, which actually is a recurring theme in his work. Actually, I've noticed like he uses Bollywood so much to like revise it, and here it's used in a very sort of great way, I think, with the music and with the way people watch. So yeah, it's again. So it's like, I think it's a great film just because I think it allows the audience to enjoy the film. Yeah. And also allows them to draw more from it if they want to, kind of like that. Yeah. I think that's pretty much
I read like a couple of reviews post. I wrote down my thoughts on Letterboxd and all of that. And there were two reviews that articulated most of my thoughts or in like better way. One was Rahul Desai's review. Where what I took from the film, he sort of put it in like such a really good way, was how the mechanism of this world is sort of, everything that is happening in this world, right? I don't know if I'll be able to put it down in words also right now on this episode, but it's just that everything, there are few things, he'll do. They aren't like subtle things, but they aren't in your face either. It's just consistently done throughout the film, so it doesn't feel out of place. Like how in one scene, this is something that really stayed with me. The one wedding scene where it's happening, right? And you see it from on top of a terrace, and there's this kid who's singing the song, and then you follow the kid, and this kid goes down the stairs, and the camera then pans to and zooms in on Jaideep Elawat, who's standing at a different location altogether. So this is not something. This is something that I noticed. But then when I thought about the whole film, there were like moments like these that were throughout the film. Like even the opening sequence, for example, you feel probably this is not something that can be a part of this world or this story for let's say. But then it somehow comes into play. It's very very smartly. And if you've not seen the trailer, then it will be difficult for you to guess. If you've seen the trailer, you'll be smart about guessing where it's leading up to. So small things like these, and even and then the other review that I read, which had another interesting excerpt, was how they used Bollywood reference, like a fake Bollywood reference, for the meta cinematic nature of the whole Arjun Kapoor's narrative, where he's inspired by Bhai. You don't really know which Bhai or who, but you can guess it. And then there's this whole sequence with where he's dancing at a wedding, right? And that song, I've been listening to that song, the Faraar song, on loop since yesterday. And if you listen to the lyrics properly, that's the plot of the film actually. Okay, not the plot.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't notice this.
Not the plot, but just where our characters' dreams lie, or mostly Pinky's dreams lie, which is Arjun Kapoor's character.
Arjun Kapoor.
Yeah, so I mean, stuff like that you think is like a throwaway thing, just for like a cheeky comic reference, but it's not really a throwaway thing. There's thought put into it.
Absolutely. I mean, I for me, I think those moments that like jumped out firstly is like, I think they go directly to, they get off the train and the camera just like pans up, and then you have like this bank basically standing above them almost. Like it's already there almost. Which is like, okay, so like you're like doing all this very purposely. Like it's a very pointed way of doing it, but it's not like it's breaking the narrative to do it. It's like there. And then there's a scene which transitions, and you see a close-up of his shades, Arjun Kapoor's, and there's money being counted through, like, in front of his eyes. So, like, just like that. It's like you get these small bits where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so it's not like he's like using every second or everything he has in that frame to
Exactly.
convey something, which is
Yeah.
I mean, I find that fantastic, because like I think Indian films, a lot of them sometimes pad their run times up so much.
Yeah.
Just with stuff which and even I'm pretty sure even Hollywood narratives do, but
Yeah,
I think
probably.
but I think just the resourcefulness of taking everything you want to say and and it doesn't seem like he's making a point like very briefly about something, then he's moving on to something else. It's like this world is that complicated. It's filled with whatever problems that come with their characters, and then these
Yeah.
people have to sort of navigate their way through it.
Yeah.
And so I think I primarily read the Rahul Desai review, and I never noticed this before, but I think he mentioned something along the lines of he makes the supporting characters not supporting in his film or something like that. That was
Right.
basically the
They
gist
they
of
aren't
it.
exclusively like supporting characters. Like
Yeah,
they're so well fit into the whole film. Like
yeah,
it can be that they can if they're not needed at a shop also, they can be there. Like that's the kind of
yeah,
presence those characters have. They can be present in
yeah,
this world anywhere you want, right? Because there's
yeah,
no set narrative. You don't do things for convenience, particularly for like a sort of thing. It's just
yeah,
that it's such a brilliantly created world that
yeah,
if they can break away from their daily routine, it doesn't feel out of place. Like
yeah.
it
No,
probably would
absolutely.
feel a part of that world. So
Yeah.
we can get into like spoilery things. So people who've not watched it, please go watch it in a theater
Before it gets taken out.
before it gets taken off. Okay, interestingly, yesterday, so the I don't know. Okay, so that episode I spoke to you guys in the Anwar episode, right, about how I wasn't allowed to watch a film, right? Okay, so people who don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
this
yeah. They
context may
cancel the
get
show.
to
Yes. Yes.
listen this context later on in another episode
Later.
which
Yeah.
will release very soon for sure. But the thing is, I wasn't allowed to watch a film at a theater in my city because I was the only person who wanted to watch it and the only person who showed up at that showtime. And they sort of cancelled all those shows, and I had a brief argument with those managers, and sort of I came at a better conclusion that I can get that guy's number and call him whenever I want to go and watch. But yesterday, so those theaters that were near my place or in my vicinity have all been shut down now, and those are multiplexes, and they've been like
okay.
big multiplexes, Inox, Carnival Cinemas, and
Yep.
all of that. So 3 theaters that were in my vicinity have been shut down. So I had to travel 15 kilometers
Yep.
to another part of my city, and and this is a new cinema place that is opened. It's Deep Cinemas PVR. Okay, and they've just acquired PVR just acquired, and I went upstairs. It's a new place. It's brand new. I go up to that guy at the ticket counter. I tell him 7:55 show, Sandeep or Pinky Faraar, one ticket. And that guy's like, the movie's already started at 7:30. I'm no, aap upar dekho, it's 7:55. Then he's like, oh, sorry, this movie is going to get cancelled. I'm like, no, that's not happening today. You call your manager. I am going to watch that movie anyhow. I requested that manager. I was like, I'll buy 2 tickets. Just let me watch that movie today. I'm not going back home 20 kilometers
That's
back,
dedication.
Yeah, no, leave dedication. It's just pure annoyance, man. Like, you can't do this.
No, you were alone. Were you?
Yeah,
alone
I was alone.
again?
My friends aren't like
Really?
sort of interested in watching films. One of my friends had accompanied me for Lal Kaptan and he slept off. The Saif Ali
I've not
Khan
seen Lal Kaptan till now, so I will.
No, but it's just that my friend slept off. It was like a slow burn type of western. So
I
my
know,
friends
I
aren't
heard,
interested in watching films with me
but,
in my city. So anyway, I argued with that guy, and then he finally let me in.
Yeah.
And once I got in, there were like some 6-7 people also who came to watch that show. And like interestingly, like there was one couple who left in the interval saying, "Isse zyada maza to mujhe ghar
Really?
mein aata hai."
Really? Okay. That.
Yeah, they were like a
now this
middle-aged
is where I
couple.
think-
So
No, but I see. This is where I kind of start to feel like I am sort of getting. I don't know if annoyed is the correct word, or if just like if this is not appealing, then what is appealing? Like if this is not like fine, I can get one argument that this film doesn't work because of. Firstly, I'm done with the this film is slow argument. Honestly, that argument is so tiring.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, it's not slow. Like a slow film is not like it's a lower. If something is slowly paced, it's for a purpose. Okay, fine. I'll probably sound like a snob here, but no, it's like it's such a repetitive argument that it's like it's a slow film. I'm like, what is a slow film?
I first of all, I agree to this. I don't get the idea of this argument itself. People who say the film is quote unquote painfully slow. I'm like, that is not like a criticism. That's not even I said argument. I mean criticism. That's not like a valid criticism to call a film slow. People said the same about Son Chidiya as well, and I'm not kidding. I not once did I feel in this Sandeep or Pinky Faraar and Son Chidiya that these films are slow. I don't know. I was engaged all throughout. Okay, so we can talk spoilers. So you can talk whatever you want to about this from this point onwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be like, unfortunately, like 50 people in whole of India will watch the film, but it's also, I think, down to wire. Honestly, it's really like annoying. I think I told you like last November when the hell are they going to release this film, and you were like, I think at one point we thought it's got shelved or something, right? I think there was that because they didn't decide to drop it online for some reason.
No, there was some virus strategy, something like that.
Oh wow, strategy to dump a film once after whatever. It's fine. But so going into spoilers, I think we can extend our slow argument here. It's just like
for sure.
Like what even is like why is that movie slow? I don't get it. Like I fundamentally don't understand what's slow about it.
I sort of people I think get bored. There are shots of the valley, for example, I think, right?
Yeah.
Which I sort of felt like there's this sort of like a ghostly nature to it. To the whole idea, so sort of not ghostly, sort of like a meditative nature to the film, right?
Yeah.
Since they are on a run, mostly films that include this idea of people who are on a run, they are fast paced, right? Here you've got a lot of breathing space because there's something else that you've got to absorb along with the narrative. So I think along with everything, those shots sort of add itself to the whole experience. They aren't, like I just said that before also, they are not throwaway moments or throwaway things that happen.
So there's no like big montage of Bunty or Bubbly stealing from like a bunch of people then. But I think I guess I'm more bothered by when people are like, people find this cinema slow. I think I'm all for people finding cinema like October slow. I think that is a slow-paced film.
Yeah.
And its slow-pace serves a different purpose. But I can clearly understand why someone would be not willing to like enjoy that sort of film. But like when you're using stuff like this and sort of playing around with it, and this film has got some really tense moments. I would
Definitely.
argue. Like, I think there's one scene with Pariniti Chopra in a bank office that did give me like, that genuinely made me a bit queasy, because there's a shot where he goes to like, I think the camera's placed down and you see her fall down, and like the impact of that is so like strong that I'm just like, okay, that's definitely going to have like a big implication in 2 minutes time or something like that. So that, and like just cutting, even like the last scene where they're cutting between Arjun, which is I think like a radical thing. I know in a mainstream film to like include that sort of cross-dressing thing and make that as something that's not like that, for which the character is not punished. It's a way in which he sort of gets away from the villain sort of the film. So like I think in that scene, like just the cross cutting between where she's walking away and like he's walking towards the bridge. I think that is so like well done, and like he cuts also then to a forward time there out of nowhere, and then you're like left to think about what actually happened to Pinky. So like I don't know, like if all that stuff is intense, then like what is, like there's one moment I remember, this is in the beginning, where he goes to like strangle her. And that moment had one of those shots where I was like, this reminded me of Blood Simple from Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Like just like in that empty desert place where he's like really holding her strongly. And
Yeah.
you see like a shot of her point of view, like at the going completely like hazy
Yeah.
because she's almost about to lose consciousness. Like it's so well made. I mean, you
Yeah.
can just I can harp on about it, but like my mom asked me, I think later, was like, should we go for it? And I started questioning, should I recommend this now? Like, because I read online reviews and they were like, yeah, I mean, IMDb is a whole kettle of fish altogether, which is like a
Yeah,
problem,
definitely,
I think.
yeah.
But you can go ahead on the film first. We'll discuss those IMDb ratings later. 'Cause
No,
they're,
we
like,
can talk about that right now itself.
really
It's
bad.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's quite a issue, man. I mean, I was very disheartened. Like, just scrolling through the reviews sometimes is just like
Yeah.
deep sigh at times. I think it's just why. Like, I understand the whole nepotism argument, but like, how are we using that to deny someone, or like, are actors that important that directors will never get their due here? I think, which is my big concern with Bollywood sometimes. Just
Yeah. I mean, see, it's just everything that gets put out in our country is sort of like a media driven agenda, right? So what happens is people do get affected. People, at least in pan Indian northern India, people that's just an observation.
yeah.
I'm from UP, so I've seen like the kind of cinema that caters to the kind of people living here as well.
Yeah.
I've seen people get influenced very fairly easily. They usually don't tend to take the right kind of things from the film, but they easily take the bad things from the film. So that's like what you'll probably call like human nature. This is like an Indian nature thing, you know. People sort of jump on the agenda train very easily. You know, people are gullible, so it's easy to convince them into believing things that they shouldn't believe. I'm not saying Americans are really smart. Americans may be dumb as well. I'm just saying people here are fairly backward in terms of thinking for the benefit of art in general, right? Not saying just film, just art in general. Like there's no appreciation in that sense. And I actually don't sort of like reading bad reviews, or IMDb has been nothing to me since probably like 2013. I decided that those ratings don't matter because I am putting those ratings, and anyone can manipulate those ratings, and it wouldn't matter at all. Like the whole purpose of IMDb is supposed to be about database for films, but does it really have to be about the star rating that it provides? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I
it would be
think,
great.
I think
you can discover films
yeah.
from there, right?
Yeah. I think it's more just the sense of the ratings. Of course, I mean they've been used before also for like whatever politicized point people want to
Yeah.
make. So I think the rating bothers me less so than like than just responses. Maybe I know it's a lot of it's trolling and etc. But like I think just that idea of, because it's such a recurring idea, like just the whole nepotism and like actors and I'm just like, fine, actors and nepotism, but what about like the filmmaker? Like,
Yeah.
what about the person who's putting these? I mean, this is the best performance Arjun Kapoor has given, I think. Bar
Definitely.
none.
Probably like I'll
And-
rate it amongst like Finding Fanny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
And Pariniti Chopra, I think, was actually good actress before she decided to torch her
Yeah.
own career. So she is fantastic here, I think.
Fantastic, yeah.
And I mean, if your director is willing to take quote unquote nepotism people,
Yeah.
right, and is able to make them so sort of integrated into your world, isn't that
Definitely,
an
yeah.
achievement? Like,
That is.
why
that
are
is,
we not paying more attention to
Yeah.
that then? I guess that's the big problem. Like the whole, and which is why I think I'm very much have an antagonistic view against like the fandom culture, and I think I've started having that more and more just by looking at how the Star Wars thing has been received in the West, and apne यहाँ तो I think is too much only. I think in just
Yeah.
the sense that the
I'm sort of I've sort of stopped reading all these reviews, you know. At a certain
should
point in my life, I generally don't read reviews anymore. I'll probably read it from like a few critics, and from people who probably I really like their point of view, like, because there aren't like a really good bunch of critics that put out like a really good point of view towards a film, even though it wouldn't,
Yeah.
if it wouldn't match my perspective, I would
Yeah.
definitely like to view their perspective. And that's like
Yeah.
what, 4 or 5 critics that probably do, and they aren't even famous, most of them. And some of them won't
Yeah.
even like put out for films like Sandeep or Pinky Farah. So I definitely like
Yeah,
reading
because I
reviews.
think
Yeah, from people on
Yeah, 'cause I
Letterboxd
think-
who I like reading
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's also maybe the thing that sort of the reason I went on about the critics a little bit is also just because I actually did read some of the or just glance through more than anything else the other critic reviews apart from the Film Companion ones. And I think there also, I guess it's just upsetting to know that that same line about painfully slow is being churned out again and again. And I'm just
God.
like, if publications are also doing that, then who am I to blame, like people who like the general audience, right? Because like
Yeah.
again, I think it's become a little infantilized or whatever, like the whole
Yeah.
it's like you can just box stuff very easily into smaller things and then just
Yeah.
continue. Okay, I think we should get back to the film, considering I've
Yeah.
ranted about
No, it's
critics
alright.
and etc.
I was also thinking about it's like a very idiotic. It's not like a comparison which
Yeah.
I quoted before. Like, it's sort of like a parallel that I was drawing from Satyajit Ray's Charulata. First of all, I think Dibakar Banerjee is evidently influenced by Satyajit Ray's
Yep.
cinema, right?
Yeah.
And I think most of the Bengali filmmakers are like Shujit Sarkar, and you know how both Shujit Sarkar and Dibakar Banerjee's cinema is sort of tried to focus on the more, cinema that you wouldn't really see in mainstream Hindi.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
and
I agree.
I can see the sort of DNA, the roots from Satyajit Ray's kind of storytelling, the way of handling a subject, a story, a character, a plot, or anything, or a style, or even a style. They sort of, I can get why they're influenced from them, and I also get that it's a great reason to be influenced by him, and.
Yeah.
Since okay, so I talked before how this world is sort of, everything around those characters is a part of the narrative, right? And if you remember, the film ends on this girl. Okay, so in the ending,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sandeep's character, Pariniti's character Sandeep, is at a jail, right?
Yeah.
Jail for prison for women, right? And you see there's another
Yep.
family sitting next to her, and there's this girl who's just running around them, okay? And even her footsteps, her voice is a part of the background noise that you'll hear, the diegetic,
Yeah.
and it stop. The last shot is a freeze frame on her.
Freeze frame. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a very smart way to do it. Like if that
I
was like a
actually
confirmation-
thought.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually thought that was like a closed loop of the interval point, which is like,
Yeah,
which is a great
exactly.
sort of, yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
which is where she doesn't raise her hand because she's consistently thinking about whatever stuff she's done wrong to people like Pinky,
Right.
and probably doesn't have
God
the
damn,
courage
I'm getting
to sort
goosebumps
of,
thinking about that scene. It's so
yeah,
good.
it's so well done, because like even when I was thinking, I was like, how will he end it? And
Yeah.
he ends it so, like, I was like, I please Divakar,
Yeah.
don't show a shot of Nepal where Pinky is there like training the children.
Yeah.
You see it through the photos, and then her
Yeah.
last, it's almost like it is her story most of all, and
Yeah.
Pinky's has been also solved. So kind of like that really
Yeah.
great bookend to like see again,
Such a
I'm
good
talking
ending.
about the film and I'm liking it more, so it's that sort of ability of a film to sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
stick with you beyond that. But yeah, that's
Definitely.
very true. That because I
So, I
forgot
mean,
about
even-
the
even
freeze
if
frame
you- if
for
you
some reason, and then I was just remembered it. No.
You've not seen Charulata, right?
I have not seen. I've only seen the
Okay.
opening scene, which is fantastic. So
The whole film is
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
like there's this whole 50s and 60s phase of Ray, which is like probably unparalleled. I haven't seen a lot of Ray from 70 onwards, I've only seen his last film, which was Agantuk, and
Stranger,
I've
right?
seen films from his 60s Nayak, Music
Got
Room,
it.
and all of those films.
Yeah.
And Charulata stands out for me purely because how that
Yeah.
film is really about that woman, her desires, and even sort of this film is a lot about Sandeep and Pinky's desires, their desires, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the sort of like a parallel is that Charulata. It's not a spoiler, but that Charulata also
Yeah.
ends on a freeze frame in the end,
Got it.
and
Got it.
immediately like right that whole I was
Yeah.
sitting through the credits, I was just going out, I was like, shit, that just happened in Charulata. Was he like trying to ape the kind of woman and her desires kind of story and like give like a subtle tribute to Ray's Charulata? So that sort of
That's
thing
very
just stuck in
interesting,
my
yeah.
head until you know, so it's just you
Yeah.
know, really seamless filmmaking. You can't really say that cinematography is great, editing is great. It's just everything
Yeah.
that falls into place. Anil Mehta's camera work is absolutely fantastic. You know,
Yep. Yep. Even the
I-
music, I think, like just even the background score was very
Yeah.
like nice. Because and you were talking about diegetic sound actually, which reminded me it's actually used very well in the opening scene and
Yeah.
the one where
Yeah.
he takes her to strangle her, and then there's like the whole aeroplane is going up in the background, so you get like the
Yeah.
whole like that blocks any screaming she could make. So it's like a very strategically done sort of
Yeah.
moment in the film's narrative. So like I think it's one of those
Hmm.
films where you like start to pick it apart and you like see how well it fits together.
Exactly
rather
how
than it all
well it
falling
was
apart.
made. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's exactly what I was going to. Like the background score is done by Dibakar Banerjee himself. You know, I think at some
Oh, is
point
it?
even
Okay.
Ray, like I saw Dibakar Banerjee's credit for background music in his Ghost Story short film as well, and I think
Okay.
he's sort of like trying to get more control. You
Got
know,
it.
I think even
Got
Vishal
it.
Bhardwaj does the same thing. You know, he does his own background score. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, but
he
Bhardwaj is a
exactly
singer,
knows.
so I thought it was like very much, yeah.
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 So I mean, there's like very good attention to detail. You know, like in my the first time that I wrote was for the Bromkish Bakshi, right, which I just told,
Yeah.
and the one thing that I was like literally crying out loud was the detail that was there throughout the film, because there's so much detail, it just
Yeah.
becomes layer over layer over layer, and it's exactly the same thing for this film. Like how you told. How we just discussed how the sound was used in certain
Yeah.
scenes, and even that I'll just like talk about that Pariniti's that whole shouting scene.
Yeah, the Alia
And-
moment.
Yeah, I mean the Alia Bhatt moment, which I am sort of like
Yeah.
tired of now. You know, I mean sometimes it just feels like forced into the whole narrative, like Dear Zindagi and all of that. But here it was so well earned. You know,
Yeah.
it was I could feel that pain. I could that you know, that voice was that shout was really painful.
Yeah.
So I mean that it was such a
Yeah, I
well
got
earned
goosebumps now.
moment. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think it's just because her performance throughout the film is so measured. Like it's like
Yeah.
she gets almost choked to death, and you have like her being very, very sort of holding it all together. Almost like if I mess up my act here, or I mess up my personality here and show like a softer side to myself, these people will basically like take me
Yeah.
apart, sort of.
Yeah.
And then that moment when the child does die, it's for that it's a genuine sort of, it's like I don't know what Dibakar Banerjee did or told Pariniti Chopra to do,
Yeah,
but it's probably her sort of, it's sad that this film was in production 4 years ago, which means that
Yeah.
we are more likely to see Girl on the Train versus
Yeah.
Pariniti Chopra. But yeah, it's like reminds you how good. I mean, I actually thought she was very good from the days of Ladies versus Vicky Bell. But like,
Yeah.
it's just like do more stuff like this. Honestly, you're so good. Like you're so good.
Yeah, it's sort of bewildering at this point that she's picking like some really bad projects like Jabariya Jodi and
which
stuff
I
like
didn't
that.
see. Did you see it?
I saw like a couple of minutes, like some 30 minutes of it on
Yeah,
TV,
okay.
and like
Yeah.
I couldn't bear it because it was like so bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad. Like I don't
Yeah.
even have words. Like I
I've-
don't really
I've heard
like
bad
calling
things
films
about-
bad, but sorry.
Yeah. No, I've heard bad things about Girl on. I mean, I've heard bad things about her in Girl on the Train also. So,
Okay.
like, just specifically her not
Uh-huh.
being good in it. And I think she is one of those actors who's actually not good in films which are not good. Which, like, you know how Irfan
Right.
was Irfan was not like that. Irfan was like he was in Thank You, which is awful. But like I think he's very good in it. So like it's like sort of. So maybe Parinthi Chopra does need a good film, a good director, etc. to actually
She
be good
definitely
in,
does.
but she is damn good. Like when she is like on game. So yeah, and Arjun Kapoor is very good. Just to like not forget the guy because he gets slagged off so much.
Yeah,
he's
for
very
sure.
good in this. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's like something like a very good director brings on table as well, right? I'm just
Yeah.
checking out what else has Parinthi Chopra done since Shuddh Desi Romance, because that's the last thing I remember she was good in.
Good in,
I'm
yeah.
just scrolling. Okay, she
I
was
think
good in
you have-
Hasi To Phasi as well.
Oh yes, I like Hasi To Fasi quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
No, I think a
But-
lot of you'll find people who are fans of Meri Pyari Bindu, which I am actually not a fan of, but I know some people like
Me
it
neither.
quite a bit. So, yeah,
Me
so
neither.
so probably that might be the last one. After that, she's done quite a number of
But she's
atrocities.
done
I think.
Golmaal again, Namaste England. Like, who's to blame for that? But her. Is there anything you specifically liked apart from everything else that we've spoken about the film?
Is there anything else? I think we've hopped on about everything. What else
Yeah.
is left about the film? I mean, the supporting cast, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
So,
Raghuveer
yeah.
Yadav and Neena Gupta and
Yeah, the Panchayat couple, which is inverted almost over the head, like here in a very sort of
Yeah,
pointed
like that's
way.
like a
'Cause
very
her
small,
scene, Parinthi Chopra's
smart-
scene with Raghuveer Yadav is very good also, especially
Yeah.
the one where she goes to hand him the money and he like very very directly sort of rejects her. It's quite like well done because Raghuveer Yadav is generally associated with that really sort of nice uncle,
nice.
right? Like that.
But then he's done sort of roles where he's like been the shouting kind of
Oh, yeah, that's
uncle
true.
dad.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
One of my favorite Raghuveer Yadav films is Masi Sahib. So that's like a recommendation
I
for
have
people
not
who've
seen.
not seen it.
Yeah.
It's something really good, something that I really liked. He's done a couple of more films from the 80s and the 90s with great directors. So check them out. He's a really fantastic director. You like Panchayat, right? Even
Yeah, very much.
I really like Panchayat. So I mean that's pretty much
one
about
of probably my favorite TV show of in from the Indian sort of sphere.
yeah,
which is-
sort of same. Yeah. I'll probably rate it in my
Yeah.
top 5 Indian web series.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much it. This is the end, and I hope everyone who's listening to it goes and watches this film in theater because it's a fantastic film. And for people who've stayed with us till now, you've probably seen it, and even if you've not seen it, you've heard all the spoilers. Just go and watch because whatever we are just talking is nothing. The whole experience is something else.
Yeah.
We've discovered so much about the film while we've spoken in the last 1 hour,
yeah.
and probably you'll discover something more than we do. So yeah, I mean this is it, and like leave drop comments in Instagram recommendations that something you'd like us to talk about. Just go and watch this film.
This was the A24 podcast. Shit. Wow, what a scintillating podcast episode. Please follow Queen is Dead Podcast on Instagram and other social media. Our Instagram handle is queenisdead.podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes. My name is Jeff.